Hi, this is Aliki from the Bliss and Happiness Summit, and today I'm very grateful to have Dr. Anna Cabeca here with us. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, Aliki.
Well, we're super happy to have you here, and part of what we're talking about with the Bliss and Happiness Summit, really, for women, there's so much that I know you can share with us today, and I just don't think there's enough time. But what I'd love to do is share a little bit with you ladies out there about some key golden nuggets around what Dr. Anna Cabeca has been doing for many years and helping many, many women across the world with. Now, what Dr. Anna is actually a gynecologist and an obstetrician, right? Now, the thing I also love about you, Anna, is that you've done a lot of research and you are an anti-aging and regenerative medicine and expert in functional medicine doctor as well, as you've got specific expertise in women's health. That's quite an extensive background. Now, you specialize in bioidentical hormone replacement and natural alternatives. And that includes obviously going through menopause and and management medicine. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how this evolved? Because it's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I would say I've been a lifelong student. It's very interesting. I grew up in an international, my parents were immigrants to the U.S. I grew up with a love for international medicine as food as medicine. I mean, when you're growing up in an international household, you're like, okay, well, different things are for different reasons, and there's this whole cultural combination that you incorporate, and it was very fascinating to see how my mother incorporated, foods from the Middle East into our American lifestyle, and that was where food as medicine came in because that was what she grew up with, and so that really opened my mind. I didn't know there was any difference. I mean, food was medicine growing up, and then she had diabetes and heart disease, and we had to think, okay, that as I loved medicine, I loved healing, I ended up wanting to be a women's physician because I saw how at that point, in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, women's healthcare just was dominated by men medical science. And I saw my mother being parts of her body were each seen by someone else. And this holistic approach wasn't there. And she unfortunately died at surgery having a valve replacement at age 67, which shouldn't have happened. And when I looked at it, it wasn't heart disease that killed her. It was inflammation and hormone imbalance. So as I started digging in and trying to understand what's the underlying reason for the diseases that are happening, whether it's diabetes, whether it's cardiovascular disease, whether it's cancer, and the list goes on. And understanding these underlying issues, the closer you get to the foundation of the problem, the more healing blossoms from that resolution. And that's the key to incorporating Eastern, Western medicine. I've traveled around the world and have looked for alternative healing foods and ways of thinking and incorporate holistic and spiritual medicine into my practice now. And it just has made such a big difference. And as you know, I've created online programs that people around the world can learn from my trials and tribulations as well.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that you said it's the foundation of the problem. And I would call that also like the root cause, because there's always a causal factor, and that's creating the havoc or the charge or whatever it is in the body and the being. And I love that you've taken the holistic approach. Now, a topic that I know that we talked about is it's really about when women or men, but women can get very stressed and lonely. And when you talk about the hormones, so that's what you call the oxytocin and cortisol connection. Can you please help educate us a little bit about that and when and how we can pull ourselves up from feeling stressed and lonely? Tell us a little bit more about that.
And I want to say to those listening is really to take an inventory of yourself to see if you're feeling disconnected, lonely in your life, if you're walking into the grocery store and you don't want to say hello to someone you've known for 20 years, you kind of walk by, pretend they don't know you. You go into a restaurant and you kind of try to pretend they don't know you, so you don't go over and say hi. If you've ever done that, if you feel like, okay, I used to love to play tennis, but I'm not playing tennis anymore, or I used to love to go shopping with my girlfriends, now I'm like, ordering online, I'm not going out of the house. I mean, these are signs and symptoms that your body's off balance. You need to fill your tank. So that's what I say. I say in America and how it is in Australia. But we've created a culture that has an energy drink in one hand, like a Red Bull in one hand, and a cell phone in the other, calling their divorce attorney. We're fatigued and disconnected. Yeah. And so when you think about that, you have to think, okay, why? Long time in gynecology and gynecologic medicine, I always told my patients, if you hate your husband 1 week out of the month, it's not your husband, right? That's a hormonal imbalance. We know that. And women would say to me, I'm feeling the week before my period or 2 weeks before my period, I'm feeling cranky, irritated. I just hate my husband. I'm snapping at my kids. I had a fight with my mother. And, it's not me. And that part of us that recognize that there's a mind-body disassociation, a mind-body disconnect. And that's a great realization to make, because that means, okay, well, let's fix it. What do we have to do? And so that's kind of where we get to the whole, my head-to-toe approach, the 7 keys approach to restoring health. You've got to look at the influences, right? Like many spokes on a wheel, and we want to correct all of them. So we fill our tanks, and we come from a place of overflowing health and vitality versus empty, just plugging the holes at the bottom of the bucket because you just keep depleting and busting through. Been there, I know.
Yeah, that's actually, I love that you said that also with overflow as well, because when we want to give or do, but then also receive, it goes back to the analogy of even, being on the airplane and they tell you about the oxygen mask. It's not just about having just enough for you and then enough to give or to be. It's about coming from that overflow. You're just generally a happier person.
True.
Yeah, I totally understand and can see that. So the 7 keys approach, would you mind sharing with us a little bit about what those key 7 areas are?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the 7 key approach, the head-to-toe approach that I incorporated, and that's also from a personal journey that I took. And I found myself at a state of, post-trauma. I was depressed. I was diagnosed with infertility. Every muscle in my body hurt. I was disconnected from the things I loved to do and things I loved, and including the ones I loved. And my marriage dissolved as a result. And I recognized that, with incorporating physical health, we also have to incorporate relational health, reconnecting intimately, reconnecting with our partner is such an important part of health. And as I've worked with these 7 keys, these same 7 keys that I've worked with patients have told me, I had a patient's husband tell me, he said, Dr. Cabeca, thank you for giving me my wife back. And now I just love the twinkle in her eye that I can see since she's my bride. And they were married 30 years and they'd lost that connection. They were on the verge of divorce. Their marriage was breaking down. She was unhealthy. He was unhealthy. And so restore health is one thing. And that's so important. I want everyone to be at their best, in their best shape, energetic, joyous, doing the things they love, fitter figure, better energy, zestier sex life. I want that every one of you. And I want that intimate connection. I want that twinkle back in your eye so you reclaim intimacy. And if you're not with a partner right now, you're a single woman, single man, just know that as you reconnect with your feminine or masculine energy, as you fill your tank, you become magnetic to really call in that perfect mate for you. And that's an important thing to realize. But it starts with you. Like you said, Aliki, put your oxygen mask on. So all that to give you the 7 keys.
It's beautiful.
I get a little random.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I love it. And I love that you talk about head to toe as well, because that covers off, the mindset and what's going on here, right through the heart, and then all the way through the critical organs and the hormones span everything in the body. Thank you for sharing that with us. And that sounds very beautiful that, even the magneticism as well, like when people are magnetic, you're just generally attracting more of what's a a higher vibration for you. You're in your joy, right? And that's part of what we'd love for folks to really realize by listening to some of the experts on this summit. Now, you have, I see maca a lot on your website. Can you tell us a little bit about Mighty Maca?
Yes, absolutely. Mighty Maca is a formulation that actually formulated as a result of that journey that I took around the world. I spent a year away, and including 2.5 months in beautiful Australia. Actually put my kids in school there. Just beautiful. But in this healing journey I took around the world, I ended up serendipitously meeting some of the greatest indigenous healers and some of the world's greatest scientists and physicians. And through this, and then just listening to traditional wisdom, is like what foods, food as medicine, my soul was craving, reconnecting to my roots. What was the food as medicine? What could heal me, mind, body, and spirit? And so one of the big foods that I found tremendously helpful to me was maca. And maca grows above 11,000 feet in the Andes in Peru. And it's what the Peruvians will call the Peruvian Viagra. The Incan warriors are traditionally reported to have taken it before they went into battle to give them more stamina and energy. But when you're in Peru, they say, oh, you're feeling tired? Have maca. Oh, you no sex drive? Have maca. Can't have a baby? Have maca. And so I went and I studied, why is that? And then there's very unique proteins unique to maca, and also nutrients high in what forms nitrogen oxide, which is exactly how Viagra works. And so those beautiful things, plus over 40 other ingredients, including, greens and resveratrol and curcumin and turmeric and quercetin to make CoQ10 and more energy. So the combination that I put together really works to fight what I call the devil's pitchfork: hormone imbalance, adrenal fatigue, and inflammation. And as a physician, I knew that what I went through wasn't going to be corrected with a prescription or a knife, right? Those are our two big healing tools when I look in my doctor's bag. But this is about incorporating lifestyle medicine, incorporating what God's created nutritionally to help restore our body and health. And I've used this in, tens of thousands of patients around the world now. And it was just amazing results. But it is my little healing journey. And as part of that journey, where I was diagnosed with irreversible infertility, I had my beautiful daughter at age 42, the daughter I was told I was never going to have. And, definitely the light of my life. So when we get to like you said, the root cause, that's huge. And then you incorporate the 7 keys, which the first key is healthy mind for a healthy body. Yep. Right? It starts with some positive attitude. And in my programs, I actually created handouts around this, a positivity self-assessment questionnaire, etc. But so number 1 is healthy mind for healthy body. And number 2 is about nutrition and exercise, the 2 hardest things to change sometimes, and knowing what the true healthy foods are. But what crosses your lip needs to be nourishing to your body. And 3 is digestion. So no matter how good the food is you eat, if your body's not digesting it well, you're not going to heal. And I say healthy digestion for a glowing complexion, or pretty intestines, pretty skin. A really one-on-one combination. And then number 4 is detoxification, the ins and outs. So, what comes in must go out, and it needs to go out healthfully, especially as we're talking to hormones and all the endocrine and hormone disruptors that we get in our environment, from our carpets, from the air, from the food, from the plastics, etc. So detoxification is the 4th key that I implement in my programs. And then number 5, hormonal balance. Hormone imbalance is good, hormone imbalance is bad. So hormones in balance are so crucial. And 6, I call sexual CPR. That is, God created sex for life and life from sex. Wouldn't be here without it. So, and sex CPR to reignite that spark, that intimate connection. And then number 7, the 7th key is inflammation in the environment. So eliminating inflammation, helping your body, really connect to nature. We get a lot more than vitamin D from the sun. So reconnecting to nature, clarifying our environment, understanding those things, and reducing inflammation, eliminating it, is crucial. So that's the 7 keys, head-to-toe approach to restorative health, to being the best. And it doesn't matter what age. I've had women in their 20s, 30s, and their teens, and also women in their 80s. So at any age, whatever, you've been labeled with or had to deal with or has physically challenged you, you can restore that. And I wish it was just here's a pill or magic wand and you're better, but that's not how we were designed. So when we get in touch with our design from those 7 key areas, it's miraculous what you see.
And I love that because as I can see when we talk about magnetic, but also our outer world that's reflected in our inner world. Well, we haven't talked about that, but that's what I'm getting from you as you say that. Your world around you changes. What your abilities are changes when you spend time with your own nature, with yourself, and look after yourself first and foremost in those 7 key areas and ways. Then your outer world, like if you know, like you said, diagnosed with infertility at some point. Well, hello, becoming fertile and a ripe juice environment to have a baby. So then outwardly, you know, you can have the child and experience that bliss as well. When you mentioned detox, I wanted to ask you, there's a blog post that you've written all about, you know, even if you detox, you don't want to retox. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I think you hit, that's a really important topic, because detoxification is something that's really important every now and then to reset the body.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. Actually, in my medical practice, when patients would come in with whatever complaint, hormones, I would typically do a pretty comprehensive hormonal lab panel. Yeah. And so from the time of them leaving, getting that lab work done and coming back in, they followed a 3-week detoxification program that I implemented. And it's following a modified elimination diet, you know, 80% alkaline, 20% acidic, staying away from, you know, so no white, no wheat, no sweet, very little red meat or no red meat during the detox. And really eating from nature. So they follow that, plus a protein shake in the Mighty Maca. In 3 weeks, they come back thinking they're like new people. Like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I even need hormones now. I mean, what's going, you know, I feel so much better. That transition, that time period, plus not to mention 7 to 11 pound weight loss, right? So just that transition period and really saying, okay, I'm going to leave out, you know, eliminate the things damaging my body. And that's a huge realization for people to make. Detoxing is very important because each time you're going to learn something else. And as our body holds emotion, as you detox the liver, for instance, or the pancreas, you know, the pancreas holds guilt. Maybe feelings of guilt or something come up. Emotional detox is equally important to clear the organs, you know, to clear our organs. And we just kind of reconnect with our soul, reconnect with our spirit, you know, reconnect with divine. Those are important aspects as we get out the old, get out the old. I just did a video on my YouTube channel on forgiveness and the physical, you know, the impact of forgiveness can have on your body. And those are huge things too. But detox is so important. I always joke about detox because I love my wine, chocolate, and coffee. So I take 21 days every once in a while and eliminate them. So you have that, you know, live within, you know, a 90-10 rule. But you definitely want to detox regularly. And I do a period, too, in my detox where you're 72 hours just drinking what is our Purity Cleanse shake or a detox shake, a very healthy, high-quality shake. Low sugar, less than 5 grams of sugar. It's important. Good protein, at least 20 to 25 grams of protein per serving. And that you give your GI tract time to rest. And that's crucially important. 72 hours, because your intestinal lining will regenerate in 72 hours. And that gives you that beautiful, like, you know, that beautiful newness again. Your skin is clear, your belly's flat. I mean, you really, in the 72 hours, doing that periodically 2, 3, 4 times a year. Yeah, I highly recommend that.
I love that. Now, I was going to ask you, I have a sneaking suspicion that the super secret hormone that you talked about, if we have enough, which is oxytocin, there's a real correlation between that and sexual CPR that you talked about. Can you tell us a little bit about how and why that's really important?
Yeah, absolutely. Oxytocin is our love and bonding hormone. So for many women, the first realization that we have a hormone, oxytocin, is actually when we're in labor. It's the hormone that drives the uterus contraction. So your doctor will come around and maybe add some IV Pitocin into so that's IV oxytocin into your IV so that your contractions come stronger and you actually have a shorter labor curve, or it speeds up your labor curve, helps you along. And that's oxytocin. That oxytocin creates this bonding, this cementing or imprinting of you and your child and you and your child's father, and that sense of that loving connection. And it's also highly abundant in climax or orgasm. It's highly abundant in play, joyful laughter. I mean, that creates abundant oxytocin. When we look at longevity research, it says, okay, well, married couples have a higher, a longer lifespan, or elders with an animal have a longer lifespan, higher quality of life. That's oxytocin, and oxytocin's actually been shown to be an anti-aging hormone to actually improve muscle cell regeneration, whether you're 70, 80, 90 years old, and that's important research too. But what happens in our modern lifestyle, where our autonomic nervous systems are in overdrive, right? You're stressed, you're rushing to work, you're hitting the alarm clock, rushing to work, grabbing a cup of coffee, in the car, in traffic, in work, deadlines, this, that, the other, emergencies, pagers going off, whatever you're dealing with, back home, dinner's not ready, or dinner's got to get dinner ready, or grabbing something on the way in. You watch the evening news as you get a chance to relax and sit down, and it's like trauma, all along, like, what's going on? Well, that's cortisol. You're like driving cortisol until it can't drive anymore, and what that does, it shuts down oxytocin. So you feel disconnected. So people have burnout at work, and they're like, I used to love my job, I can't stand it anymore. A week, I always tell couples, a week vacation is a heck of a lot less expensive than a divorce attorney. Yeah. So take time for yourself, continually make date nights, take time for yourself, schedule massage, schedule things that incorporate the activities that increase oxytocin. If you're alone, you think laughter yoga, or having a pet, and going for walks with your dog or your cats aren't, I'm not a cat person, so I apologize for you cat person too. I have 2 horses, a dog, a goldfish. Beautiful. We really work on that therapeutic benefit of bonding. There's a therapeutic benefit of bonding. And when we tend to disconnect from the people closest to us, then we start dopamine seeking, distracting behavior, and that can lead to affairs, that can lead to, quitting your job and going to another one, that can lead to destructive, unhealthy behavior. And so that's important to recognize that this is a emotional response to a physical consequence. And so just being aware of that and saying, okay, wait, I got to fill my tank. I need clear oxygen to breathe. I need to fill my tank, because what's happening is, we're in a stress, disconnected, revolving door type state. And that's not how we're intended to live in community, connected, purposefully fulfilling our passions, right? Or passionately fulfilling our purposes, either way. And that's what's divine from health and connection. From that space, we live in a peaceful world. I want everyone on board with me on this.
Oh, I completely agree. I'm almost like feeling and sensing everybody listening to this is going to align with exactly what you just said. I mean, I know I've got tons of examples around what you just said, even like the job and the burnout or the work and just feeling disconnected. And so I'm totally on board with that. And the oxytocin also, as having been a mother too, breastfeeding, gives you that sense of oxytocin. It's bliss. It's just really beautiful. And when you feel really connected and supported, you feel one with all. There's a glimpse of that, and that's what oxytocin does. So thank you. And I love what you were saying before about the maca recipe that you have. There's so much good stuff in that. You mentioned curcumin too, which is obviously, or it's turmeric, anti-inflammatory, resveratrol, really good for, blood and circulation, and can also be found in wine, right? But there's a lot of good stuff in that with the greens. You mentioned CoQ10. That's a great mixture, and if you almost don't know where to start, but start with something that's packaged and being put together by you specifically, I would totally go for that mix. That's just really efficient, and you can mix in how do you prefer to consume that particular drink with the powder?
Yeah, usually, honestly, because I want it to be as food as medicine, right? I want it to be experience that we're taking something consciously versus popping pills. So, when I'm in a hurry, I mix it in water at my workouts. I have it in my water bottle at the gym. But you can put it in your smoothie. I just did this amazing Mighty Maca recipe campaign, and I got some beautiful recipes. I mean, Mighty Maca pesto and Mighty Maca avocado creamy coconut dessert, and in pasta sauce and with a sweet potato. I mean, there's incredible ways. I mean, it can be like you use a spice. It can be like put it. My daughter this morning, I made her I had watermelon that I figured it was, like when it's kind of a little mushy and you're like, I'm going to throw away this whole watermelon. So I thought I'd feed it to my daughter as a smoothie.
Yeah.
Like I just make it a watermelon juice. And she's like, oh, it's really not that good. So I added a little bit of Mighty Maca into it. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And she's 7 now, so
it's perfect.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. I love it. But look, I will reinforce and say to the listeners listening to us, they're really hot. They're awesome ingredients. And maca, I've been taking for many years, and it's taken the years off me, that's for sure. But they're really good ingredients, and I love that. And like you said, there's so many ways you can use this stuff. But even like in salad dressings too, you can make, like you said, the green pesto. You can make that in salad dressing, and it tastes good, and kids like it. They love that pure stuff. My son's like, can you just get some coconut water and mango and banana and just blend it up for a smoothie for me? And he's 3.
nice.
And then I'll add specific ingredients just to ensure that his immune system is boosted. Kids have hormones too. It's all about balancing them out as well with good high vibe stuff. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing so many golden nuggets with us. I love it. I love that we learn a lot more about hormones and how to pick ourselves up on when we're stressed and lonely and what could actually be going on. It's not really about the blame game. I think it's really about taking a look at ourselves. That's and there's a way to do that. And I love that you've got a 7 keys approach. You have programs around that. Can you tell us a little bit more about how folks find out more about you and the programs?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my website is cabecahealth.com. So CABECA health.com. And if you just put a /feel fabulous, you'll go to my free web jam. It's over an hour of just incredible information. Plus, you'll see my pictures of me 80 pounds heavier, significant hair loss, stress-related hair loss. And you'll hear more detail on my story, but also the 7 keys that I use in detail, 6 ways to balance your hormones naturally. So that's at cabecahealth.com /feel fabulous, all no spaces. And that's a good way to really find about me, my story, and my journey.
Beautiful, and you look amazing.
Thank you.
So you're doing 7. Thank you. That's beautiful, and that's awesome. And so you have horses as well, aren't they just beautiful? Oh my gosh, we've got 2 dogs. But animal and nature is beautiful. So so it's cabecahealth.com /feel fabulous, and I'll have the URL here just under Dr. Anna's photo. So enjoy those goodies, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you all.